India's rice export ban sparks concern that sugar may be next. U.S. dispatches warships after China and Russia Navy patrol near Alaska. Philippines summons Chinese ambassador over water cannon incident. China tells Philippines to remove grounded warship but was denied. Barbie makes history with $1 billion at the box office. Heat wave and looming typhoon forces scouts in Jamboree to evacuate. Niger closes airspace as it refuses to reinstate president. Japan to start Fukushima water release as early as late August.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Tuesday, August 8th, and here are your top stories. After India banned some rice exports to control domestic prices, traders are worried another food staple could be vulnerable: sugar. According to the Indian Sugar Mills Association, sugar cane fields in the main producing regions of Maharashtra and Karnataka didn't get adequate rain in June, leading to crop stress. The group expects sugar output to drop 3.4% from a year ago to 31.7 million tons in 2023-2024. Still, the president of the association said supplies can meet domestic demand.
The world has become increasingly dependent on sugar exports from the South Asian nation as global supplies tighten. Uneven rainfall across India's agricultural belts has stoked concern that sugar production will fall short, potentially dropping for a second straight year in the season starting October. This may limit the country's ability to export. Meanwhile, India is set to use more sugar for biofuel. The association sees mills diverting 4.5 million tons to make ethanol, up 9.8% from a year earlier.
The U.S. dispatched 4 Navy warships as well as a reconnaissance airplane after 11 Chinese and Russian military vessels carried out a joint naval patrol near Alaska last week. The Wall Street Journal first reported that the U.S. Northern Command confirmed the combined Chinese and Russian naval patrol, telling the Journal, "Air and maritime assets under our commands conducted operations to assure the defense of the United States and Canada. The patrol remained in international waters and was not considered a threat."
U.S. senators from Alaska said the flotilla in question was made up of 11 Chinese and Russian warships working in concert near the Aleutian Islands. 4 destroyers and a Poseidon P-8 patrol airplane made up the U.S. response to the Chinese and Russian flotilla. A senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Brent Sadler, told the Journal the flotilla's proximity to Alaska was a highly provocative maneuver given Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine and political tensions between the U.S. and China over Taiwan.
The Philippine government summoned the Chinese ambassador on Monday to convey a diplomatic protest over the Chinese Coast Guard's use of a water cannon against a Filipino supply boat in the disputed South China Sea. The Philippine military on Sunday condemned the Chinese Coast Guard ship's excessive and offensive use of a water cannon to block a Filipino supply boat from delivering a new batch of troops, food, water, and fuel to the Philippine-occupied Second Thomas Shoal in the disputed waters.
Titignan natin kung ano yung kanilang magiging sagot. Ngunit sa atin ay actually today, pagkatapos ng...
The tense confrontation last Saturday was the latest flare-up in the long-seething territorial conflicts involving China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan and Brunei. The U.S., the EU and their key allies including Australia and Japan expressed support to the Philippines and concern over the Chinese ship's actions. Washington renewed a warning that it is obliged to defend its longtime treaty ally if Filipino public vessels and forces come under an armed attack, including in the South China Sea.
China told the Philippines on Monday to remove its grounded warship from the Second Thomas Shoal in the South China Sea after blocking 2 Manila supply ships with water cannons over the last weekend as both sides asserted their claims of the area. In a statement on Monday, the Chinese Coast Guard said it had previously told Manila not to send ships to the Second Thomas Shoal and not to send construction materials used for large-scale repair and reinforcement to the warship after it learned of this recent supply plan.
However, the Philippines told China it would not abandon the shoal. A senior Philippine National Security Council official, Jonathan Malaya, said China's increased presence at the Second Thomas Shoal will not deter the Philippines' resolve to protect its position there. Malaya said, "We will never abandon Ayungin Shoal," using its local name, as he dismissed China's call for Manila to remove its warship from the atoll, which was intentionally grounded in 1999 to reinforce the Philippines' sovereignty claims.
According to official Warner Bros. Estimates, writer-director Greta Gerwig's blockbuster has raked in an astounding $1.03 billion at the global box office, barely 3 weeks into its run. This makes Gerwig the first solo female director with a billion-dollar movie. As one half of the viral Barbenheimer phenomenon, Barbie is standing on her own 2 feet. A media analyst said the Barbie and Barbenheimer phenomenon is as unprecedented as it was unpredictable.
Barbie has sailed past the $1 billion milestone in global box office ticket sales.
According to analyst Paul Dergarabedian at Comscore, only about 50 films in history, unadjusted for inflation, have hit the billion-dollar mark. According to tracking site Box Office Mojo, Barbie has been the #1 release in the world's largest movie markets, including the United Kingdom, Mexico and Australia, every weekend since its release. Barbie also performed well in China, the second largest market in the world, and one that has become increasingly insular over the past few years.
Tens of thousands of youngsters will be evacuated from the campsite of the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea to get them out of the path of a looming typhoon, days after hundreds fell ill amid soaring temperatures. Organizers said on Monday that around 36,000 participants will be taken by bus on Tuesday to areas away from the path of Typhoon Kanun, which has already wreaked havoc in southern Japan and is expected to hit South Korea on Thursday.
To be a temporary home for more than 40,000 participants at the World Scout Jamboree.
On Monday, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol ordered the operation of an emergency response team to implement those plans without a glitch. Korean Vice Minister for Disaster and Safety Management, Kim Sung-ho, said officials are seeking alternate venues and accommodation in and around Seoul. Gender Equality Minister Kim Yun-suk, whose department is running the event, said the Jamboree, which is scheduled to run until August 12, will continue.
Niger closed its airspace on Sunday until further notice, citing the threat of military intervention from the West African regional bloc after coup leaders rejected a deadline to reinstate the country's ousted president. Earlier, thousands of junta supporters flocked to a stadium in Niamey, the capital, cheering the decision not to cave in to external pressure to stand down by Sunday following the July 26th power grab. The coup, the 7th in West and Central Africa in 3 years, has rocked the Sahel region.
What it calls all necessary measures if President Bazoum is not released from detention and reinstated.
Given its uranium and oil riches and its pivotal role in a war with Islamist militants, Niger holds importance for the US, Europe, China and Russia. Defense chiefs of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have agreed a possible military action plan if the detained president is not reinstated by the deadline. ECOWAS did not comment on what its next steps would be on Sunday if its deadline expires. A spokesman earlier said it would issue a statement at the end of the day.
Citing unidentified government sources, Japan's Asahi Shimbun Daily reported on Monday that Japan plans to start releasing treated radioactive water from the tsunami-wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean as early as late August. It said the release will most likely come shortly after Prime Minister Fumio Kishida meets with U.S. President Joe Biden and South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol in the United States next week, and explains to them how the water release will be safe.
Amid wastewater release imminent from the tsunami-wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean,
Japan's nuclear regulator last month granted approval for plant operator Tokyo Electric Power to start releasing the water, which Japan and the International Atomic Energy Agency say is safe, but nearby countries fear it may contaminate food. The newspaper said bottom trawling fishing is scheduled to start off Fukushima, northeast of Tokyo, in September, and the government aims to start the water discharge before the fishing season gets underway.
Now let's delve into the news of Japan starting Fukushima water release as early as late August. Number 1. Wreck. 破坏,损坏,毁损. The building had been wrecked by the explosion. Number 2. Contaminate. 污染,弄脏. The drinking water has become contaminated with lead. Number 3. Troll. 用拖网捕鱼,查阅资料,搜集,搜罗网络人货物. She trolled the shops for bargains. The police are trolling through their files for similar cases. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section below. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all the time we have for today. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I'll see you next time.